Hello everyone, this is Mike. Welcome to my channel, Mike the Tech Savvy. This is another laptop review. No, I'm just kidding. It's something completely different. A review of a very interesting assortment of Android. GrapheneOS is an Android-based, security hardened and privacy focused, and of course free and open source operating system for some select smartphones. And by select smartphones, we only have the Pixel devices. In this video, I will discuss a step-by-step tutorial on how to install it, and I will make a short review of it. As a first question, you might ask, why do I need GrapheneOS? And the answer is, if you're very privacy oriented and you would like your device to be as secure as possible, and by this, of course, it means free of any Google software, GrapheneOS is one of the best options. Of course, LineageOS can be installed in the similar manner, let's call it, without GApps, but this is much more. It includes a lot of hardening changes, and most of them are under the hood. It is very well maintained and updated. It gets updates even faster than the stock OS from Google, so it's definitely something very good about this ROM. I'm not gonna sing its praises right now, but from a security standpoint, this is one of the few options that there are out there. A different one is CalyxOS. Let's get on with the installation process, and afterwards we'll discuss a bit more about GrapheneOS, about what it means and about what it brings to the table. These are the official instructions on the official GrapheneOS website. It's a full guide. It gives you some prerequisites. You will have to read it very carefully. I've gone through this tutorial and I'll take you through the major steps, but please, whenever you're doing this, go through the whole tutorial and read it carefully. It is pretty hard to hard brick a Google device, but still, you'd want to flash it correctly from the first time. Of course, in here you have instructions for Arch Linux, for Debian, for Ubuntu, and for Windows. So no matter what operating system you have, you will definitely find instructions here. In my case, I'm using Windows 10, and I'm assuming a lot of users that are watching this video will do the same, but it's more or less the same procedure. First of all, you will need to obtain fastboot, and this is usually not so complicated. If you're on Windows, you can get them straight from Google. You have the link here. And right here, you have the SDK platform tools for Windows. This is always updated, this link. You will need a pretty recent version, so at least 29.0.6. The most recent version, I guess, it's around 30, so yeah, definitely good enough. I have it here, 30.0.5. I already have them downloaded and extracted. I use 7-zip for extraction, it's your choice. Right click and extract here. After that's done, you should run a fastboot -- version to check the current version. In order to do this, after extraction, you should go in the folder, type in cmd here, and then fastboot. You can see my version, which is exactly what I told you before, 30.0.5. You should enable OEM unlocking, and this is done by going into settings, enabling developer settings by clicking the build number 7 times, which is in the About Phone menu here, and go into System, Developer Settings, and pick the OEM unlocking box here. Of course, in my case, I'm already on GrapheneOS, but it's the exact same procedure if you're on a stock ROM. As it says right here, you will have to boot in the bootloader interface, and in order to do this, you turn off the device and then you turn it on by holding both the volume down and power buttons. Volume down, power, and now we're in fastboot mode. As you can see, I have the device state locked, which means that I have a locked bootloader right now. Here you have a couple options, but by going up and down with the volume rocker. Okay, now we should connect it to the PC via USB Type-C cable. We need to go into the folder where we downloaded the platform tools, click CMD. Once the command prompt window is up, we can just identify the device. You can see it here, serial number. And now we should, as it says here, write the following command: fastboot flashing unlock. And right now you have a few options and you can switch through them by pressing the volume rocker. You should go and unlock the bootloader and then press the power button. Be aware of the fact that this will wipe your device. Of course, it's written here as well that it will wipe all data. Now you'll need to obtain the factory images, and this is not so complicated. In my case, I will install it on the device that I have on hand, which is the Pixel 4a or Sunfish. You should go to the releases page and you will see all the devices which are compatible with GrapheneOS. As of now, we still don't have the Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5. I guess they will be supported soon. And of course, we don't have the Pixel 1. Now you should select your device. I usually go with the stable channel and then click on the zip file. I downloaded the zip file right here, right next to the platform tools folder. You can also verify this zip file if you want to, and if you want to make sure that it's exactly as it should be. After you're done with that, you should just flash it, which is not so complicated as it might seem. First of all, you will need to extract the factory images like it's written here. And here you have the flash all bat file. You should move the contents of this folder into the platform tools folder. So here, this is done easily. Just select all, copy, and then paste everything here. And once you've copied everything here, it's as simple as double clicking this flash all bat file. Of course, during this time, you're still in the bootloader mode here on the Pixel device. Because you unlocked the bootloader earlier, it would say unlocked with red here. You should wait for it to finish. For me, it took about 5 minutes, I guess, or even less than that. And then you should proceed to locking the bootloader. This is very interesting about GrapheneOS. It has a verified boot, so it keeps it, as opposed to Lineage OS, which requires an unlocked bootloader, which brings security and privacy concerns. This means that after flashing the device, you will need to lock the bootloader, and you will do this exactly like you unlocked it. So after installation, you will be still here in fastboot, and at this point you will have to open a CMD here in platform tools and just write this command, so fastboot flashing lock, as opposed to unlock, which you did earlier. You will get the same message here. You will navigate through the volume keys, lock it, and that's it. After you've done this, you will have to restart the device, or rather only click here on start. The device will wipe itself and it will boot up for the first time in GrapheneOS. Of course, you'll get this message. Your device is loading a different operating system, which is quite unusual. You don't expect to see this on a phone. You will get the Google logo just for a short while. Don't sweat on it. And then, of course, the magnificent GrapheneOS logo. After just a few seconds, you will be greeted with the setup wizard. In the setup wizard here on GrapheneOS, you will only enter some basic information, and then you will be greeted by a ROM which doesn't have any apps installed, only a calculator, calendar, the auditor app, and that's about it. I guess you'll get the gallery app and a very basic camera app, which is this one. In this video, I won't really discuss about how to further harden this ROM or how to, well, make it even more secure than it is, how to adapt it, let's say, to a normal working scenario. I will still make a short review. So this is based on AOSP. Everything that you know from your typical Android, or rather stock Android from Google, is still here. You'll have all the options here, including dark theme, well, hotspot, everything is here. In settings, everything looks normal because it is normal. It is a stock like AOSP experience. And of course, you will always have the latest security patches. This is the system update menu, and you can check for updates here. You can choose the release channel, stable or beta. You will have a GrapheneOS keyboard, which of course is much more security hardened than what you get in a typical, even Lineage OS build. I'm not talking about Gboard because that is, well, unusable, let's call it, from a privacy perspective. And now comes the part where you'll ask, I don't have a Play Store. How can I install any apps? And the answer is, well, not that complicated. The first option, of course, is F-Droid. In the most, let's call it, simple option, you will have this Vanadium browser, which is quite decent. You can just go into fdroid.org and download F-Droid. Here you'll find a lot of free and open source software applications for this platform. You will find quite a lot of stuff here, and all of them are compatible. And now, of course, you will have some apps that you cannot find, and this is the large majority of social network apps, well, your typical ones at least. And if you would like, even though I wouldn't really suggest it, but if you would like to install some apps from a Play Store like application, you have here Aurora Store, which you can download really easily directly from F-Droid, if I'm not mistaken. Aurora Store, yes. So basically through the F-Droid store, you will download another store, which is this one. And in Aurora Store, you can log in with an anonymous Gmail account, and you can download any free app from Google Play Store. So basically at this point you're downloading Google Play Store apps, but not from the official Google Play Store. Of course, here you will only find free apps, and if you have any paid apps that you would like to download, well, tough luck. You cannot really do it. I'm not really sure if you can do it if you log in, because of course, even here you can log in with your Google account. But this actually breaks the purpose of GrapheneOS. The only reason why you would want GrapheneOS is because you want to have a hardened security, a more privacy-oriented experience on your mobile phone. And if you keep bombarding it and installing lots of software which is not, let's call it, privacy-oriented, you will definitely defeat the purpose. Of course, this means that you will have to find alternatives for most apps, and for some you will not be able to find identical alternatives. For example, it is well known that the Pixel devices have a magnificent camera, but you cannot really use the Gcam here. So all you'll be left with is installing the Open camera, which is good. It doesn't have that HDR plus that is very nice and that makes a Pixel device a Pixel device. In order to improve the camera quality, you will need to go into Camera API here in Open Camera and select the Camera 2 API. Do not play with any of the other options unless you know what you're doing, because this might decrease the picture quality instead of increasing it. GrapheneOS, it does have a lot of security advantages on the typical stock OS and even on Lineage OS. You do have a verified boot, you have remote attestation. You can also use the Auditor app at the beginning of configuration, so after you've installed it. you should click on ODT here and install on a different device the same app from the Play Store and select the auditor option. You will scan a QR code on the other device and it will tell you if everything has been installed correctly. You always have the latest version of Android, which is very nice. It has excellent hardening features, of course. It has a firewall and sensors permissions, which is something really unusual and really important. One thing that I left at the end, and which is very important, is that it activates the Titan M security chip, which is only present in the Pixel devices. It is said that it's so good, this security chip, that it can take up to 650 years to break it. And this is for a simple 4-digit PIN. This really sounds incredible. I will also make a video on CalyxOS. CalyxOS is an alternative to this ROM. Of course, you still don't have GApps on this one or on CalyxOS. They are both really secure, and they do not allow for a package or a set of apps such as the GApps to be installed, because as I said earlier, this would break the purpose of a ROM like this. And why not? I think I'd like to also make a comparison video between this, the CalyxOS, and the LineageOS, so that will be a pretty interesting video. Of course, as main disadvantages, which I haven't really talked about until now, but there are some. Now it really depends on your perspective, so if the disadvantages outweigh the advantages or not. In my book, I guess the advantages outweigh far the disadvantages, so I don't really care about them, but let's just call it. You cannot use the Gcam. You might be able to if you sideload a micro G package, but yeah, you will have some privacy concerns afterwards. Or you can disable all the permissions for the micro G package, but then it breaks other apps, so it's not a full compatibility, that's for sure. Of course, you will be forced not to use some of the apps which are dependent on the Google Play framework. And by this, I also mean Google Maps or Waze. Probably you might be able to install them, but I think you're better off with alternatives such as this app, AOSP-based, which is incredible. You can find it on F-Droid. It's free, you can download offline maps. It's a pretty good alternative. I'll probably make a video in which I'll discuss some app alternatives, how to further harden your GrapheneOS installation, how to make it more usable, more user-friendly, let's call it, even though you still don't have access to certain apps. Given that this ROM requires a locked bootloader, you don't have root access, and this is good from a security perspective, but it's bad if you're a, let's call a power user, where you like to do a lot of tweaking, a lot of things that require this root access. You will not be allowed to do anything. This is a very stock-like ROM from this perspective. It doesn't really allow you to do a lot of stuff. It's the basic purpose of it. As a last, argument, let's call it, yeah, it's the ROM of choice that Edward Snowden recommends. So yeah, I guess that says it all. You now know some basic advantages and disadvantages to this ROM. You've seen the basic general interface. It's a typical Android implementation. Everything works. There are no bugs, no problems whatsoever. You have an excellent battery life. And this is only because of the fact that you don't have any apps that are monitoring you or constantly draining power from the battery. This was my video for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please press the thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more similar videos in the future, also press the subscribe button, which will be displayed right here in the bottom left part. I will continue my series with the GrapheneOS, CalyxOS, and why not LineageOS. Let's see what kind of videos will come up next. If you have any questions or video suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Of course, you'll find all the links that I discussed about today, including the tutorials and the links for the GrapheneOS releases and things like that in the video description below, where you'll also find the links to my social media accounts and to my Patreon account. Thank you so much once again for watching this video. Stay safe, guys. Bye.